are misunderstood. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome.
So before we get into all the nuts and bolts of why you're here, I just want to get into your background a little bit. Can you explain to me how you got on this path and why this became your main interest in life?
Yeah, sure. I've spent my entire career working in proteins, believe it or not, for both sports and weight loss. And through that long pathway forward, you start learning what the proteins do. So about 20 years ago, it became very apparent that the proteins played a larger role. And so I got into studying what they do when they're in the system, and that's primarily trigger GLP-1s, PYY, other gut hormones. And when you start studying that and learning how they control hunger and they control your brain, it becomes a whole different playing field. And I've been in that for decades.
Right. Okay, so can you break down the recent FDA ruling on compounded weight loss drugs for us? So we're all on the same page here.
Yeah, so compounded drugs are not the legal patented version of the drug. It's the FDA's allowed a little loophole to exist. It's called 503B compounding, and it's where if there's a shortage in supply, compounders that exist all across the United States are allowed to then create their own version of that drug. They do it commonly with testosterone, estrogen, different types of hormones. They hopped all over the weight loss products, and they've looked at it as their golden goose for the past, 2 years. So,
well, but they did that for the reason that there were shortages of the real thing, right?
There were shortages, yes.
Okay. Now the FDA has come out and said they declared the shortages are over, so basically, effective immediately, I mean within the next month or two, all the compounded drugs have to stop, right?
Well, today is March 19th. Today is the last day for tirzepatide, which is the active component of Zepbound and Mounjaro, which is from Eli Lilly. And in another month will be the semaglutides, which is the product from Novo, and that includes Wegovy and Ozempic.
So basically what everybody's on. So,
basically what everybody's on, yes.
Yeah, so here's the thing. For everybody that's listening, I think it's kind of gone over their head and no one's really paid attention to that news. I only saw the news come across my screen in the last week because of the text messages that you and I had back and forth. And so then I was like, wait, what's happening? Because I would not have paid attention. When you say FDA and drugs, I don't really, that's not like my thing. But even if it, listen, I have those drugs in my cabinet. I've gone to different pharmacies. I've, hit all the things online, like the Try Eden, I think they have like a Hims and Hers or whatever it is. And every single one of my friends is on it in one way, shape, or form, whether they use it weekly or they just keep it in their refrigerator in case they need it in the future. So what does that mean for people that are getting it for like $199 a month, or they get these great prices on it?
For $199 a month, you're getting what you paid for. So that's probably the Chinese, Indian, or Pakistani version of Ozempic or Mounjaro.
So even if it says Ozempic, is it really Ozempic?
Yeah, if it says Ozempic, it has to be Ozempic legally. Okay, it needs to be the real product if it says Ozempic, because that's owned by Novo, which is the pharmaceutical company that makes it. When you look at all those compounded ones, they typically have their own name on it. Okay, say compounded semaglutide or compounded tirzepatide. That means they're making their own version by buying the active overseas, bringing it into the U.S., getting it from some distributor. It's not the real thing. Matter of fact, there's been quite a bit of controversy about it because, as we've discussed, a lot of this stuff is fake. It doesn't even meet the criteria, and that's become problematic. And the shortage is over, and that's why all the real stuff is coming back in larger supply. And that's what the consumer, they're pushing the consumer to use. Of course, it's $1,400 a month versus $200 a month.
Right, and the only way to get that is through a real prescription from a real doctor, not online, correct?
You can get it online still from the same people. You're just going to be paying significantly larger amount of money.
Got it. So what I don't think most people realize is that when they're taking the semaglutide, whatever these things are that they're taking, and they've gotten it from whoever they've gotten it from, I don't think they realize it has the potential to not be the real thing. That it could have come from somewhere and somebody could just be making up a concoction that's, well, by the way, they're not FDA approved, right? The compounded ones.
Right. They're making FDA approved facilities, at least they're supposed to be. They're not FDA approved compounds. They're actually a version of it. No one really knows the details, and now there's a lot of warnings coming out about it because as we get closer to the end, I think people are trying to just go through their inventory and try to sell it all off. So we don't know what's being sold. No one knows. And when they buy all these products, they're really taking a chance because you don't know what you're injecting. It's not like you're popping a pill. This is going right into your body through a subcutaneous shot.
Do you think there's going to be any lawsuits coming out in the future?
It's going to be a series of crackdowns. There's a lot of lawsuits right now. There's a serious amount of lawsuits. There's a lot of patent infringement. There's a lot of technical things behind the scenes. But they're trying to shut down all the compound pharmacies just for that reason. And what they're claiming is that even like the semaglutide, they're claiming that no matter what they did, they were never selling the equivalent of semaglutide. It's just some very random chemical that does the similar, has a similar, it's a similar peptide.
Right.
That's what they're trying to say.
But as you kind of mentioned before, there could have been different side effects that people didn't even realize because they weren't. So do you think that there might be lawsuits in the future now that people are becoming aware they've been taking something that maybe wasn't the real thing, and then they're going to start to blame the pharmacy or the online doctor that they use?
I would imagine, yes. I can't speak for anyone in that case, but I would think so. I think that everybody's going to go through this. They're going to find out maybe they're losing their hair, maybe they're, they have more, something's happening to their vision. Who knows what side effects may come through? But over time, with more and more people taking these products, and the longer amount of time you take it, the more it's going to affect you. And you're going to notice those side effects.
Okay, so what about, all right, so what does that mean for us? So going forward, if we want to be on these drugs, we will have to take the real thing and we'll have to pay the real price.
You're going to have, if you want to take those drugs, there's only two people to get it from, two firms to get it from. So you're going to be the Lilly, or it's going to be the Novo products. And as you know, those are all the brand names. And right now, you can go there and buy some of those direct. They're both setting up their own telehealth centers to be able to buy it online, so they have their versions of it. You may end up spending $500 a month instead of $200. But there's other things coming too. I mean, there'll be more opportunity for people to actually try to do this correctly, not just take a shot and just put themselves into 168 straight hours of anorexia.